Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Adventures in Who, your local Gib Gabby Doctor Who podcast. I'm Martin.
I'm Tash.
And we're back, baby, after months of being in our stasis tubes, because that's where we've been this whole time. We haven't been doing anything else. No other big life events took place. No world-changing things happened. We've just been in ice tubes the entire time. We came out around Christmas. To get our smell of Doctor Who, and then decided we didn't have too much urgency to say about it at the time, so we went right back in our tubes.
Yeah, pretty much.
Maybe in the future we might talk about Joy to the World when we've got nothing else to talk about, basically, and we'll go back to that. We'll circle back round to that. But we are back for this season. But how are you? How was your time? How was your time in the stasis tube? How have you been?
It's a time in the stasis tube. I guess is the most lighthearted answer I can give there. Very stasis-y.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot has changed, it seems. Coming up on the exit.
Yeah. Do you feel the world has gotten any better since you came out of the stasis tube, or do you think it's got yeah, I mean, that's accurate. Well, yeah, very accurate.
Yeah, that's about the best I can give.
We did. We did sneak out of the tubes another time. We actually met.
Yeah,
we did.
Yes,
and I did.
Yeah, we did.
Toy
but
with
nothing
the
important.
Nothing important happened that day. Nothing important. No one's listening to this who would be potentially mad about that.
Nope.
I did fiddle whilst I was flying over. I was toying with the idea of maybe we should record like a mini one in person together, like a quick question answer kind of thing. And then I didn't really. It would have to have been on my phone because I didn't bring anything else to do it with. And then it became very apparent that we were much too busy moving around doing stuff to possibly have fit that in.
Lots of cars.
Right. Yep. We could have done it in a car. We could have just done it in a car.
Oh, I'm yeah. The backseat
podcast episode. That we could have come up with that. Yeah, that doesn't sound weird.
Yeah, maybe next time. Next road trip. I mean, I probably would have gotten car sick.
Yes.
And then that would have been quite the experience.
How long can the podcast go until Tash feels like she's going to throw up?
Oh, God.
That's the ticking clock drama. I like it. Obviously, we're here today to talk about the Robot Revolution, Season 2, Episode 1, Series 15, Episode 1. I'm just saying Series 15. I'm saying series. You can't stop me, whoever it is who wants it to be Season 1 and 2.
No, I think that's the easiest way of saying it.
But before we get into the Robot Revolution, we were planning on maybe doing just a warm-up episode, just talking about everything that's happened in the Doctor Who news sphere. But my computer destroyed itself and other such life things. This was all in the stasis tube, you understand? Like it was a whole thing.
Yes.
And yeah,
what happened in there?
The one thing I think it is worth us having putting a little bit of a 2 cents into is the future of the show once this season ends. Obviously, we know there is a spin-off coming, but as for the actual show proper, there's been leaks, rumors, the media circus around what is going to happen to the show once the season has concluded. Is Disney going to pull out? Have the BBC done anything to plan for that? Or all of that stuff. And then on top of that, we've had Russell himself not giving the most encouraging interviews about the potential future of things, where he's out there saying, look, the show's going to survive. In like 15 years' time, people who are watching it will go and write the next batch of episodes. And it's like, so what's happening? Is the show ending? Is it not? Is there going to be a big, long hiatus? Personally, for me, I think no one actually knows, is where we're at. I don't think anyone involved truly knows the answer to that question. I think they're prepared for some sort of break. How long that break is going to be is completely up in the ether. They're right and truthful about the fact that Disney haven't given them an answer about whether they're going to continue distributing and adding money into the budget and everything else that they do
Mhm.
until this season has concluded. Whether or not that means the BBC are looking at a different streaming partner to immediately jump over to, or if they're just going to make it
Mm.
in-house again, I think
Mhm.
they're probably having all those kind of discussions, and they haven't really made their minds up, honestly. Um,
Yep.
the other interesting little caveat to all this is that Russell was on David Tennant's podcast not too long ago,
Mm.
and Russell was saying that there are gears whirring about his potential replacement. That
Oh, no.
those discussions are already in the works. However, later on he did
Mhm.
come out and say, "Look, I'm not planning on leaving anytime soon. Like
Mhm.
that's not the plan right now." But I guess it does make sense to pre-plan ahead of his eventual, because I don't think, honestly, I don't think he would stay as long as he did last time. I'm surprised he came back in the first place, let alone, let alone sticking around for an extended period of time.
Yep.
So that is something to consider as well. Anyway, what do you think?
I honestly don't even know. I think that, like, given the political change that has happened since we've been in the stasis tube, I think that could also complicate things as well in more ways. Things could even change for Disney themselves with their own battles.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot riding on this season, and I can see Disney backing out. I can see, given also the change of I don't even know how to word it, because it's not really about them, but the change of a mind shift here, I suppose, in the States towards the US market. Like, I don't know if the woke, quote unquote, agenda, which is really ridiculous, and I don't think it's woke at all. And
Mm-hmm.
we all know how Doctor Who has been. I just don't know where Disney is going to settle on that.
Mm-hmm.
And times are scary in that concept. So it just depends on what this season has to offer. I would I would like for, like, Doctor Who to not change from its course of discussing really important and difficult subject matters to push the social norm, especially if the social norm is going, like, 50 years back in history. So I would say, like, I hope there isn't some sort of sellout happening.
Yeah. I mean, you bring up like
No idea what
a
I mean.
great point in regards to that, because like I don't think a lot of people realize that obviously Disney's interest in the show is if they think it appeals to their primary market, which is America.
Mhm.
Um
Yeah.
so, and God knows what's happening behind the scenes, Disney at large, with this change in administration
Mhm.
and what that means for them. That's all
Mhm.
speculation, that is not a word. Speculatory.
Speculative.
Speculative, that's the one, thank you.
Yeah, there you
That's the
go.
one. I'm intelligent, I read.
More than me.
um, yeah, I think, no, that is an important thing, which I don't think a lot of people are considering in regards to how
Mhm.
Disney are going to be responding to where Doctor Who fits in their pantheon of stuff. We do know that they gave out some pretty positive figures. They don't give out the numbers, Disney Plus, they never have for anything, but they did say that the
Mhm.
show did pretty well when it was airing last year. Like, it was in the top
Mhm.
percent every time a new episode came out, and so like it wasn't like they were like, "Well, this is a failure." I'm like,
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah, yeah.
because I do feel like had it
People are
been
still watching.
yes, I do feel like had it
Yeah.
been a complete failure upon season one, they
Mhm.
probably would have already announced that we're just going to run the rest of these episodes, and then we're kind of done with it. So that's
Mhm.
why I say I feel like they are waiting to see how this season goes down. I will say, just in terms of the quality of the show, and
Mhm.
in terms of what Disney has brought to it, and it kind of goes into this episode itself, where I do
Mhm.
feel there's like a shift in, obviously everything looks very shiny and glossy, and I think
Mhm.
there is maybe too much of an influence to make all of the episodes, or most of the episodes, big, showy, and
Mhm.
all of that kind of stuff. I can't talk today. Apparently, my mouth is broken. Spectacle. Spectacle
Yeah,
is like the key, right?
yeah.
And whilst Doctor Who can do that, it can do that very well.
Mhm.
Um, I often feel like Doctor Who works best as as mo- more domestic or small scale, like,
Mhm,
storytelling, but then there's like larger stakes on the periphery of what's going on. Like
mhm.
like if they fail in this small thing that's happening, there could be massive consequences. Opposed
Yep,
to massive consequences are happening and everything's falling
yep,
apart and we're running through it, and that's a
yep.
personal thing that I feel for me. Like I like
Mhm,
the ghost stories in the cupboard as Russell T Davis has described them in the
mhm.
past. I was kind of going backwards and forwards between maybe the show should just have a little break for a moment and a reset. And then I kind of go back on myself and go, well, frankly, I think what the show needs is just some fresh blood behind the camera. Honestly,
Yeah.
it's what it comes down to. And I feel like you don't have to have a
Yeah.
break to do that. You don't have to have a pause or a break
No.
to do that. You just need to take a risk and hire
Mhm,
someone new. Like
mhm.
that's ultimately what it is. Um,
Yep,
and
yeah.
I do think it should be someone who knows the show and loves the show, but but someone with a new voice, and then with someone like that behind the camera that will translate to in front of the camera as well, and
Mhm.
etc. etc. That's kind of where I'm at with where I think it should go. But who am I? But a little stasis tube dwelling podcast person.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I feel I think a lot of this too I was trying to look especially at this episode, especially with the, like, unhinged marketing that we've gotten feedback about while we're in our stasis that has been happening within your generation, right? Like, so I think now it's kind of taking a peek at what the newer generation might want, and I think we're both examples of individuals who have gone through all of the generations
hmm
of Doctor Who and being able to, like, adapt and change with them and see, like,
Yeah.
the slight changes of how it's happening for a new generation and, like, still be able to love it, whereas I feel like right now, the ones behind the scenes aren't able to do that
Mm.
as much of it as it's been done
Yeah.
in previous years. So it's just I don't know if it's a matter of Disney and trying to appease to Disney or if, like, maybe a break from Disney would kind of set it back on its course. There's just so many ifs, ands, and buts in the air.
I feel like if they were to reach out to another streamer to distribute, I feel like Amazon is probably the one that they would go to.
I mean, Jeffrey Bezos is just as bad, though.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Like the Bezos man is just another pile of billionaire along with the along with everybody else. Although I will give him credit for bringing the Expanse back, and the only reason the Expanse continued to exist is because he was such a big fan of it, and he was like, give the show money and make sure they can get to the end of their story. So I'll give I will give
Yeah,
him credit for that. But
fair enough,
that's
fair enough.
but other than that, yeah, it's a whole
Yeah.
it's the same thing, and you're like, well, how's this going to be any different? I was actually, while we're on the subject,
Mhm,
going to ask, with these two seasons, obviously we're only one episode
mhm,
into this season, as someone who is in the America and
mhm,
um has
mhm.
to is an American even against your will,
Yep.
do you feel like the show is actively trying to appeal more to Americans? And what I mean by that, do you feel like some of the British quirks of it have been diluted?
I haven't felt anything like that. I
Mm.
also don't really hear of any talks of Doctor Who over here,
Mm-hmm.
but with that being said, I feel like it wasn't like I heard much talks about it beforehand either,
Mm.
in a weird way, like, it was just something that I knew I liked and then maybe a couple of friends had watched.
Yeah.
I really don't see a lot of it in my world here in the States. To me, it doesn't seem like they've been trying to super cater us beyond, like, we have the big Disney Plus money now, and, like, how
Mm-hmm.
could we make this comparable to, like, the beloved Avengers or something like that? And, that's a very over dramatization of that statement.
Yes.
That's the best way I can try to sum it up. And, like, trying to give us those massive effects for that,
Mm-hmm.
when in reality, that doesn't always mean it's great. And I mean, that's even happening with a lot of TV shows that go, like, way super niche and, like, throw something at a side story just to make it happen, and then it doesn't really feel like it's achieving anything but being flashy. I will say, though, my partner and I were talking after watching this yesterday, and he had brought up, like, he's seeing a lot more American actors in it,
Mm,
than he remembers seeing before, like Neil Patrick Harris, Jinx Monsoon, um, those type of things. So he doesn't know if, like, he was just trying to bring up, like, is that them trying to also cater to this, or is it that they just have more money now so they can afford people that they've been wanting to give a shot at the show for really cool,
mhm,
roles for a while, right? Because none of I don't think any of those come across cheaply, nor should they. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. Is it them trying to cater to, like, oh, but you're also gonna see, like, your voice represented on
yeah,
the TV show, or is it, oh, here's some really cool people that have we wanted to get for a while or have expressed interest in getting involved for a while, and there weren't channels
mm,
there before, you know,
yeah. No, no, it's
kind of
just I just
yeah.
find it interesting just because from my experience from Americans who like the show, or I mean, or indeed
Mhm,
anywhere, not just America, but one of the big appeals of the show to those audiences seem to be how British it is.
mhm,
And obviously, with it being within the genre of science fiction and fantasy, and then just dumping like British culture onto it, it feels like it's a very different flavor of those genres, and that's what makes it
mhm.
appealing to those audiences. And oh yeah, I was just interested if it felt any way diluted in these recent couple of years, but it seems like you still feel like it's got the vibes.
I might have a different opinion after this season. I just feel
Hmm.
like there was so much other stuff happening last season
Hmm.
that, quite frankly, I didn't care where it was taking place.
Yeah, fair.
In the nicest way possible. Like, I couldn't even pay attention to that because of all of the other things happening.
Yeah.
I do think, like, if you look at stuff like Dot and Bubble, though, you can see that happening anywhere,
Hmm.
right? Like, that kind of being enamored with, like, reliability in social media and stuff like that.
Yeah. No, I mean, you also
And
brought up like I think one of the very active things, be it like diluting the British stuff or not,
mhm,
being on Disney, it was an active. I mean, Russell said as much that it was a way to try and get the show to at least be somewhere on the level of the Marvel TV shows, of the Star Wars TV shows. Like, he's
mhm,
always been an advocate for Doctor Who should be in those same conversations as those shows.
mhm,
And that's why it made sense to
mhm,
go to Disney and to have them help distribute and help with budget and all
mhm,
those kind of things. But again, back to the appeal of the show. I've always found. I mean, I'm a fan of Star Wars. I'm a fan of Marvel. I'm a very loosey goosey fan of Star Trek in a not very serious way. Um, but all of those things are these massive juggernauts
mhm.
of things, and like I say, they're very flashy and slick and like world-ending stakes all the time. I've always, being a fan of all of those and Doctor Who, the thing I liked about Doctor Who is that it always felt like the alt sci-fi genre. Like
Yeah.
it's the weird eccentric cousin to all of that stuff, and
Mhm.
sometimes I do wonder if that side of it is being like, in an attempt to be on the level of those other shows, has it
Yeah.
lost a bit of that element to itself that made it appealing in the first place? And I think that's probably a bigger discussion to be had. But um,
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's just a lot going on there in
mhm,
general.
yeah, but yeah, I mean, there we go. The fate of the show is up in the air, and I was very tempted to get out of my stasis tube, even if Tash couldn't join me or not, to do a special rant episode. Just because of how all that news cycle first started up, and
Yep.
people just spewing absolute nonsense and bad
Mhm.
faith criticism and not anything thoughtful. It was just all for the tea and the drama of it all, and
Mm.
I was ready. I was like ready, so close, just to pressing record and being like,
You're getting ready to get riled up.
yeah, and like, come on, we're better than this, everyone. We can, we can actually put some thought into what's being given to us, and yeah, it was a whole thing. Anyway, visual watchers, Tash just quickly ran to the stasis tube to get a jumper. That's why,
Mhm.
that's why
Yep.
there's now a jumper involved.
Or did I? Or has the jumper been here the whole time?
It was
Because
here
he
the
can
whole
also
time.
gaslight like Russell T Davies.
Was it the Mandela effect? Tash always have
Mhm.
the jumper on. You just thought that
Yep.
Tash didn't have the jumper.
Yep. Mhm.
All right. Well, that's kind of our 2 cents on where the show's at right now and what we're thinking might happen in the future. Well, we don't actually have any thoughts about what might happen because we haven't got anything to go on, really, in reality.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're here to talk about the Robot Revolution, Season 2, Series 15, written by Russell T Davies, directed by Peter Huer, is how I'm going to say that last name. I'm not sure if that's right or not. And starring Shuti Gatwa and Virada Sifu. And we also had a whole debate before we started recording on how to pronounce her name as well. But hopefully we got it right.
Mhm.
Right? Hopefully we're getting it right. We will correct ourselves if we need correcting. Have no fear. All right. The Robot Revolution. Robots from a faraway world have got
Mhm.
a certificate that claims that Belinda owns this star, this planet, and they
Mhm.
have come to Earth to kidnap her and make her their queen. But in order to do so, they have to travel through a time fracture. That causes a bunch of issues. The Doctor is
Mhm.
also looking for Belinda, seemingly for different reasons, but also the same reasons. We'll get to that eventually. And then from there, drama ensues. Tash, uh,
Yeah.
what actually, first things first, because we didn't have an
Yeah.
opportunity to do this,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yep.
what was your expectation slash want from the opener for this season? Like, what were you expecting and wanting it to be? And then give us your general impression overview of the robot revolution.
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. Anything that wasn't Space Babies was my hope,
That's a
and
good
this
part.
wasn't Space Babies. So I guess we'll start there.
I mean, I will say that off the top. I was like, thank God it was another Space Babies. Thank God it was not that
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, yeah. Not another Space Babies. I didn't have any expectations,
Hmm.
um, going into it. I know obviously in the trailer there were some, I think, more demigod type
Hmm.
situations being teased, and I was like, We're surely not gonna open with
And we didn't really.
that."
We didn't. We didn't. We didn't.
No, yeah, yeah. We didn't either. So my expectation was kind of just like, please just don't let it start with the potential universe Euro version plot line because I can't.
Please don't make me start
Now
with
I
that.
just have
I
even
need
more
to build
theories
up.
about that.
I need-
Like, yeah, yeah. So I mean, all things like it wasn't. It was none of those things, which I just didn't want it to be. So that's yeah,
There you go.
that's good.
That is good.
I didn't really have my like hopes and dreams and wishes. Really, all I wanted to see is them give Shooty a fair fucking shot here. That was my hope.
Yep.
I think I had really, like, strong hopes as well for Belinda, and I think Belinda lived up to those hopes. And plot-wise, I had no idea what to expect, what to hope for, because I just feel like every time I've tried to do that,
I
you
think
know,
I think it was probably
I wanted
smart of
to be
you.
able to not be a negative Nancy this
Yes.
entire
Yes, yes, yeah.
episode.
I know. I think it was probably smart to go in with, you know what? I'm not going to build any kind of expectation for how they're going to kick
Mhm,
this thing off. I'm just going to let it
mhm,
happen and see
mhm.
where it goes.
Yep,
I think that was
yep.
probably smart.
What
So
about yours?
so for me, like I said,
Mhm.
by the end of the episode, I was like on my hands and knees, like, thank you for not doing another Space Babies. Thank you
Yeah,
so
honestly, if
much.
we had another Space Babies.
Yeah, like this, like it's interesting because clearly it's going for the same tonal
Mhm,
starter of just being a rompy adventure story and
mhm,
quickly paced and all of that stuff. But something about this one, to me at least, compared to Space Babies, felt a lot more confident. Um, it felt a lot more sure of what that tone was and how to achieve it. There are a couple of issues I do have, but overall, it's not an amazing, like, oh, I'm going to go back and rewatch this kind of episode. But
mhm,
it was an episode where I go, you know what? There was enough here for me to just sit down, watch and enjoy it more or less, and not get caught
mhm.
up and nitpicky and and I'm very
Yep.
grateful for that. Thank you for
Yep.
delivering just a basic
Yeah.
happy time. I can just sit down and watch this. Was really my
Mhm.
large takeaway from the whole thing. So we'll go through chronologically the episode, and we'll
Uh-huh.
kind of go through beat by beat. I'm going to play it in front of me so I can kind of get a sense of things. So
Good feel for it.
we open up in the past 17 years ago, which I think it puts them at around 2007. And interestingly, I think there is an episode set in 2007 somewhere in this season, which depresses and scares me that that is now a historical past episode 2007.
Oh, yeah.
um, and then we instantly open with Alan being sus. The
Mhm.
first line of dialogue out of his mouth is yeah, I know women aren't good at math. I was like, oh, okay, well, clearly this is no good. Whatever's happening
Yep.
here. But we open with
Mhm.
Alan gifting Belinda the star. Boy, howdy, these two must moisturize because they have not changed. Well, Alan has changed a bit. He got a bit robot-y,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
but Belinda does. Goddamn, 17 years hasn't aged a damn day.
Mhm.
17 years. I was so confused when they jumped. Is there some sort of weird time travel thing happening here? What like, is she meant to look exactly the same? Like, I was genuinely kind of confused. I mean, I guess they
Yep.
put her in some sort of teenage like garb.
Yeah.
How did you feel about just the opening introduction to Belinda and creepy boyfriend Alan?
Well, yeah, like, I couldn't even tell if it was her boyfriend. I was just like, "Is he just, like, a mate trying to come on to her and has the wrong idea for a little bit there for a second
Yeah.
based on, like, just, like, the clear lack of respect in his tone?" I immediately was just like, "Oh, man.
I didn't
Here we
know.
go."
I didn't expect Alan to come back into it in such a big way. I thought this was just like an awkward teenager moment, but no, it definitely came back round, I guess.
Yeah, I
But
think it was just the contrast of that and zooming into present day life and, like, the
mm,
busyness of her present day life, like
yeah,
yeah, I mean, I think we've all dealt with Alan in one
what?
way or
Yes,
another in our lifetime before, and we can tell by very little where Alan or what Alan sees.
yeah. I do
So
have
it's kinda just like, oh,
no, yeah. I have some
yeah.
things about Alan that's kind of revealed later on, and it's
Mhm,
kind of my criticism of the episode overall. But we'll get
mhm,
to that when we get there. We then cut, as you say, to present day, the hospital. Belinda is working as a nurse. The doctor is looking for her, and in doing so, the doctor manages to shut down the entire hospital. So let's just hope and
mhm.
pray there
Quick
wasn't
mistake.
any heart
Nope.
surgery going on.
Yep,
Anything, because someone
yep.
definitely died.
Uh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But, but it's fine. It's goofy.
Which I feel like is really weird. I don't think that's just a casual it's fine.
Yeah. Just don't linger. Don't think about it too much.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't think
Nope.
about all
Mm,
the things that might be
nope.
happening in the hospital. It's just a goofy little runabout. It's fine. It's
Mhm,
all
mhm.
fine. We then get Belinda in her, I assume, flat share, house share. She still has the certificate, which is
Yep.
weird to me. I was like, why has she still got that? Why would she keep like? I don't own
She owns a
barely
star.
barely anything from when I was a teenager. Like I do, like
Yeah.
it seems like an odd thing to keep hold of, considering that she kind of forgot about Alan and moved on with her life. Do you not think that's? Do you think it's weird that she still has it hung on her wall, like excellent 17 years
Uh,
later?
I mean, I'd keep it still, I think.
Hmm.
I don't know if I'd hang it up, though.
Yeah,
But I'm
right.
also not, like, a person that's very materialistic in that way, but then I think it kind of, like
Like if it was rolled up in a box under a bed or something.
yeah,
But I
yeah,
guess for the story, we have to
yeah, yeah,
visualize that she still has
yeah.
it. So we're just going to hang it on the wall
Mhm,
for the sake of showing that she still has it. I just felt it was a bit
mhm.
strange. She still had it. Not too long on that, we get some big impractical robots landing in the back garden who
Mhm.
you can't even open doors. They have to smash through everything, which was, I have to say, it did give me a little bit of a chuckle, the fact that these robots are so impractical. they literally cannot walk
Yep.
through any single door. They have to,
Yep.
they
They're just
constantly
big.
break in. And then we get to, well, let's be honest, I'm sure you've got the thing that you've really got some feelings towards where this episode's is considered. The execution, the completely doesn't give any damns robot blasting a cat
Mhm.
for just existing. Seemingly doesn't shoot anyone else but that cat.
I just why? It was so unnecessary. You could have used anything as an example. You could have obliterated a house pot plant. Like, it just could have anything. Anything you could have been like, "Look, we can obliterate this." Or, like, yeah, everything would have been so much better. It's just the same as horror movies. When horror movies kill animals for the jump scare factor or, like, something like that. Like, who even if you're saying you're advertising this towards, like, being family friendly here in the States, who wants to see a fucking cat get obliterated in point 0.2 seconds? And you're trying to make them seem big and scary, and I get that, but they're not big and scary. They're dumb. They have faces that are fucking emojis. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's so unnecessary, Russell T Davies. I don't know what cat hurt you in your lifetime, but come on.
You're right though. Like he does have a bit of a vendetta
There's
against
no
cats. It
point.
seems like because he makes them
Yeah.
evil nurses in the future. Evil
Get over it.
and the doctor in Fear Her is like, I don't know about cats. Like once you've been
Mhm.
mauled in the face by one, I don't know. Taking the fun out of it. If you couldn't tell, Tash is a big
Mhm.
fan of cats. If you,
Okay, so are the like a good chunk of nerdy people love cats. It's a good chunk of your demographic.
mm-hmm. I mean, for me, it's just like it's a quick-handed way to
Justice for the
show that
cat.
these robots are just like will shoot anyone, and I guess they are being controlled by a misogynistic control freak. They're evil,
No, I
basically.
just
In
feel
this
like there's
moment,
so many other things you could have done.
maybe
Sure, you could be evil. You could have like clearly had no qualms about shooting people. Why not just kill one of Belinda's roommates?
they murder plenty of
Seriously.
people. They murder plenty of people later. Don't worry.
I know, but like that well, no qualms about it then either though. I guess we're saying like we don't give a fuck about her roommates or the one bitching about granola. Like I highly doubt that they're gonna come back many times in the series franchise moving forward. You could have just
I was going to ask that.
set the tone.
Do you think we're going to see these flatmates ever again this season, or is this just like, oh, they're out? They were here, establishes where she lives, and bye bye. We got a brief mention of her family, like she was like, oh, like my mom and dad won't know, and I don't know. I
Mhm.
don't know if that's where we're going to be heading with Belinda. If we're going to get into like the normal Russell T Davies family drama aspect, and or if we're just going to kind of
Oh,
skip
for
over
their
that.
sake, I hope not, honestly.
Hmm.
I don't know. I feel like I'll talk a little bit more about it at my end at the
Mm-hmm.
end about my fear with Belinda specifically.
Yes.
But, um, I don't know if I'm gonna see the roommates again or if we're meant to care for them at all. We see one for the like, a sleeping cap on for 2 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think that they're important. Also, their house is gone and
Yes.
trashed. Like,
Yes.
I feel like
And you
let's
bet
just
your ass their
destroy.
landlord isn't going to do anything about it because that's
No,
what
yeah.
landlords be.
I just feel like the cat was just such a cheap move, and, like,
It is. It's a very
I
quick-handed.
hate when I see it in horror movies
Yeah.
too and stuff like that. Like, just do better
Yeah.
as a writer, I guess.
It is just a
I know
bit.
people are gonna be like, "That's so silly and dumb," but, like, no, do better.
It is. I mean, you're not wrong. It is a trope in the sense of a quick and
Yeah.
easy way to establish they're bad. That's what it
Mhm.
is. Then, as Belinda is being kidnapped, we go to the
Mhm.
back garden and we get Mrs. Flood making her
Yep.
appearance in this episode, and I believe she will be making an
Mhm.
appearance in every episode this season.
Yep.
So just like last year, we've got an old elderly woman being mysterious popping up in every single episode. It's the
Mhm.
same as
Breaking the
last
4th
year.
wall again.
Breaking the fourth wall again. I will say when
Mhm.
she was being guided up and the robots have got her on the platform and Mrs. Flood,
Yeah.
Mrs. Flood, oh, take care, Belinda. That did make me
Yep.
laugh. That did make me laugh a little bit. Fourth
Mhm.
wall break. You didn't see me. You didn't see me.
Mhm.
So we're clearly building up to whatever she's
Yeah.
going to be revealed to be at by the end of this and what her
Mhm.
role is going to be. And And then from there, we have the Doctor chasing after weird swoop swoop, the time fracture, um,
Mhm.
which I thought was going to be like a bigger thing, like, and maybe it will be, but for right now, it seems just to be part of the plot for this episode. Although it does beg the question, why did the time fracture exist in the first place? Like, where did it come from?
Mhm.
And the bigger mysteries around Belinda. But like you say, what I will get into all of that. So skipping ahead, we get to Belinda being made queen, and
Yep.
and the Doctor is already there, seemingly already been there for a time period, and
Mhm. Hair is grown out.
and explains, yes, his hair has grown out. He's got a different fit. He's got 3 different fits in this episode. One of them
Yep.
takes
Yep.
place extremely quickly. Like, as if he just ran in the TARDIS, got changed because why not? and and just in another outfit for some reason.
Yep.
I will bang on the drum again of just have him be in his
Yep.
Doctor outfit. Dear God, just have him be in his Doctor outfit, please. Yeah, but then we get introduced to the whole 9-word situation, that there is a fault in the system where the robots are deaf to every 9th word, which to me felt, in that moment, obviously it's there to pay off at the end of the episode, to
Yep.
have it set up and then pay it off later. But in that moment, it felt kind of weird to have it because they were just going to start shooting them anyway. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
why are we pretending like like everyone is in the room ready to start blasting? So we're literally just
Mhm.
doing this to establish that it's a thing that we can come back to later. But
Mhm.
in the moment, it's like, okay, she's here. Everyone start shooting because that's what we were gonna
Yep.
do anyway. Like, there was no other
Yeah.
plan. We weren't trying to be stealthy here. We were just going to start blasting everything.
Mhm.
But we also get, importantly, we get introduced to Sasha as well in this
Yes.
opening segment. And we get introduced to this planet Belinda in all its 80s, 50s retro design. I'm going to be on it. I thought there was going to be a plot reason as to why this planet has this design to it, because it's so,
Mhm.
like, blatant what they're doing in terms of what it is meant to look like. I thought there was going to be some kind of reason as to why that's the way this planet looks. And the closest we
Mhm.
got is that Alan has a bunch of 1950s sci-fi posters in his room that we see when they
Mm.
go to get him. And I was like, is that where the influence comes from? But that doesn't make any sense either, because they just take Alan back to their already existing planet that looks this way. Um,
Mhm.
so I guess it was just a, no, this is just the way the planet looks. They love the 50s nostalgia on this alien planet who would have no idea what
Yep.
50s nostalgia is, but it's a look. It looks cool. I think it's all very well
Yep.
designed, and I watched the
Mhm.
Unleashed where they went through the design process for everything, and I will say I do like the fact that the robots are practical suits with performers in them and
Mhm.
doing all that stuff. Like, I like everything about it. I was just like, I
Mhm.
couldn't help myself by thinking, why does this planet look this way? Like, what was it that made this society go, that's the look, that's the one we're going for? Um,
Mhm.
who knows? Maybe again, because I feel like this time fracture thing is going to play a bigger role in
Yeah.
events, and
Yeah.
there may be a loop background as to why that is the case. Who knows? Or it just looks that way because it's
Yep.
fun and goofy and sets the tone for the whole episode, which is fine.
Mhm.
It's just a weird little nitpick in my brain where I'm like, but why?
Yeah, yeah.
Why does it look this way?
Yeah.
What's your thoughts about the very obvious homage to a certain era and design?
I don't even think I was bothered by, like, the overarching, like, design of everything else. It
Hmm.
was just, like, you want these robots to look big and scary, so you kill the cat. But, like, in reality, they're just not. Like, you look at those and you're like, "Okay, these are some henchmen for something else
Yes.
happening here,"
Yes. Yeah.
because they have emoji faces, and I don't know if that's to cater at, like, a different type of audience, but I feel like emojis haven't been cool for a very long time now.
Hmm.
And so, like, like, in the nicest way possible, I don't know. It was just like you're trying to make them seem threatening, and that was the action that you took to make it seem threatening.
Mm.
But overall, like, I get why they are these henchmen and, trying to break away from, like, repeating the same kind of monsters in the franchise, which Russell T Davies seems to state that he wants to change it up.
I feel like because this episode is just going through like I say, the big rompy adventure feel, like the 50s
Mhm.
aesthetic is just is probably just an extension of that tone
Like,
that they're shooting
yeah.
for ultimately, which is fine. It's fine. Like I say, I think the sets are very impressive, and you can tell that. I was thinking that a lot of people talk about the CGI and all that the Disney money is pumped into.
Yep.
I think honestly, where a lot of that money, at least where this episode's concerned, is the sets, because it's a
Mhm.
pretty big freaking set that's a practical set, and
Mhm.
certainly a lot bigger than what we've had in previous years. So I
Yep.
like that. I like them spending money on doing bigger, more encompassing sets that look like an actual place and time and stuff. But yeah, from there, as we say, like the rebels come storming in. We have Manny, the most handsome human being ever known, repelling from the ceiling. It is
Mhm.
that is another thing about this era of the show. Like, there is no normal looking people in this show anymore. Every single person is gorgeous. It's like everyone is the most beautiful person you've ever seen. And
Yep.
we've been what
Welcome to American TV,
right?
and we've had so many conversations about this, how I feel like if I lived and saw, like, TV the way that y'all got to,
Hmm.
uh, uh, I would feel much better about myself if I'm gonna be honest. Like, that's the one thing that's really refreshing about watching, like, anything on BritBox or BBC or stuff like that. They look like real people and talk like real people, and, like, everything I not everything here that's but, like, most of it is so, like, picture perfect people with, like, unattainable beauty standards.
It's funny because
Yeah,
we're side note. We have been watching from our stasis tubes. We have been
yeah.
watching some John Pertwee stuff, and
Mhm.
and Tasha's shock of all
Oh, no.
these of
No.
these.
It was one episode. Stop it. They were all making the same face. They were all making the same face. Just
Tash
miserable.
Tash compared them
I
to
wasn't
some particularly
Martin, you're gonna get me in
famous
so much
puppets.
trouble. You're in so much trouble.
But no, I think it is. I don't know why I noticed it so much in this particular episode that everyone,
Mhm.
like, there is no normal, like, quote unquote normal
Mhm.
people. Maybe
Yeah.
again, maybe that's part of the aesthetic
And
of the 1950s thing that they were going for, possibly. I guess I'll just keep an eye on it for the rest of this season. Is every single person in the show gonna be a supermodel of some description, or just really handsome or beautiful, or I don't know. I just really noticed it here for some reason. It just stood
yeah,
out to me.
yeah, those
We The shootout happens, supermodels shooting
Mhm.
robots. We then get a little quick Belinda Doctor introduction, and Sasha's there third wheeling. Well, who's this Sasha person? Third wheeling on our introduction with our new
Sasha
companion,
55.
Sasha 55, getting all up in this. Um,
Mhm,
but as they're making their
mhm,
escape, Sasha blasted, gets blasted,
mhm,
which becomes apparent why that's important. With the Doctor not very
mm,
happy, shouting out
mhm.
gutturally as that takes
Yep.
place, and then
Is the tears in the face.
the tears do start rolling once the Doctor, Manny, Belinda, and another individual who don't think it's a name um, gets transported to the North Zone, which is their little camp.
Mhm,
And like you say,
mhm,
we get the now traditional 15th Doctor cry face,
mhm.
which I'm sure everyone who
Favorite.
listened to our reviews last time, I was getting pretty sick and tired of the cry cry face.
Mhm.
Um,
Yep.
on this occasion, however, I think it kind of worked, um, because essentially what's happened here, as we learn, the Doctor's been here for 6 months, and Sasha is
Mhm.
essentially a companion that we never got to meet. Like it's
Mhm.
someone who's had that companion role with the Doctor, and we just didn't see it. It all happened off screen.
Mhm.
So it makes sense in this particular instance that the Doctor would be visually upset to losing someone in that way, and
Mhm.
it's a great shorthand for Belinda getting to quickly know who this person is. And this will come back towards the end of the episode when we talk a bit more about Belinda and her interactions with the Doctor and how she's being set up as a new companion. But no, I for everyone who may be aghast after hearing last year's reviews where I was getting like,
Mhm.
does he have to cry every, like, sometimes
Mhm.
twice an episode? On this occasion, it did work. However, I do wonder, I can't help but wonder if it would have worked even more so had there not been the amount of the amount of cry faces that we've had. Like, because obviously we didn't get to review
Yeah.
Joy to the World. Um,
Yeah.
I found the scene in Joy to the World where the Doctor is crying over the dying Silurian a bit much.
Mhm.
I appreciated what that scene was, and that is the Doctor appreciating
Mhm.
life, but it felt a little bit like you literally just met this Silurian, this Silurian, and we're having a whole like pull out the tissues moment,
Mhm.
which felt a bit much for me. But here, it felt a lot more justified, and I understood it set the stakes and the stage for what has been happening, why it's happening, and again, like I say, it's a good introduction for Belinda getting to see who the Doctor is,
Mhm.
and what he's about, as particularly in this incarnation. How were you with the cry face this time around? This time around?
Honestly, I think it's really funny because I feel like we're flipped. I think for the first time ever, I was like, "What the fuck?"
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
which is so
But I mean, I feel like part of
I
why.
literally say when we don't have the same ideas all the time, like, we truly mean it. Like, we
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of different takes on this TV show.
I mean, but I
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, go for it. Like, is it what I'm
And
saying that you feel like there's been so much of it now, it's become a parody of itself that like it doesn't really mean anything.
no, 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 I think it is, like, they're trying to, like, clearly portray that time has happened and that
Yes.
he's been stuck here, has grown to care for Sasha. It's more so like I don't know if it's a contrast with him probably killing 50 people in that hospital earlier in the episode and giving no fucking qualms about it. "Oops, sorry," and then runs off. Like, no, I just okay. Like,
Right.
it's that. It's bad loop or plot holes that aren't major plot holes, but, like, still feel like just
It's a tonal
off.
whiplash. It's a tonal whiplash
To me, yeah,
from the like, oh,
but
the
the other ones I feel
goofy
like it made sense.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I get what you mean.
yeah,
Like it's that whip
made sense.
it's the
I
whip
don't know Sasha.
yeah, it's the
I should
whiplash
care for her,
of
but just it is yeah.
it's that whiplash of we were doing this very just pacey, goofy. There are consequences, but we're not going to dwell on the consequences too much. It's just like a silly
Kill a fucking cat. That's
slap
probably some
yeah
child cry,
slapsticky thing,
for
and
sure.
then all a moment we're just gonna press a full stop button and be like, oh shit, someone just died, and it
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
so I get what you mean. I get where
But
you're coming
mainly
from.
though, like, he's not really bothered by anybody else dying.
Hmm.
It's just this one dying, and I'm like like, I think the other times that I've seen the crying, it's been kind of, either about, like, all of the lives of things and people matter,
Hmm. Yeah.
right? Even the racist assholes,
Hmm.
uh,
Go on,
from,
bubble.
like yeah, I can't remember the city's name, but, like, even those who are just fucking horrible people cried, and, like, also a lot of that's kind of inherently processed through himself as well. Like, just probably, like, I don't understand this hatred and making a metaphor there. This though, like, it's it would make more sense if you're didn't do the bit where the hospital powers out in that kind of way and did something other silly, like a minor thing breaking, and be like, "Oops, sorry, I gotta go," like, but for sure, people probably died in that process there. The cat fucking died,
Don't dwell on that
beamed to death
hospital.
in a split second. No, I'm dwelling on
Don't
it,
do it. The episode the
It
episode was like,
impacts me,
no.
no, I don't care. I'm dwelling on it.
It's just a
And
hospital
then
gag.
this for this for this to have the same episode where seemingly many more people are dying, and the doctor's
Hmm.
like, "Oh, this one person." Well, I do understand, like, it's someone who the doctor's gotten close with, and he's promised he'll take on all of these adventures,
Hmm.
and, like, there's emphasis on, I think, her dying, particularly to how it's gonna portray to Belinda later on,
Hmm.
but, like, everything we've seen up to this point has been like, all life is important, and then it's just like, "Oh, just kidding, just this one actual life is really important,
Hmm.
and, like, peace out." It just didn't land for me. I was just like, I know we're supposed to care about Sasha.
Hmm.
I'm not saying that we don't care about Sasha, but, like, I'm just like, this doesn't either feel like, A, the time or place, or
Don't get me wrong. It's one of those with this particular one. I feel like I could have. It's kind of a take it or leave it. At least it made some sort of sense to me on this occasion, where he's
Mhm,
had this off-screen 6-month relationship with this person, um,
mhm,
opposed to someone he's just now met. But I mean, I was going to say is it could be argued that this is a character flaw of the Doctor, that
mm,
he will seemingly care deeply about one person but leaves chaos in his wake in other ways,
yeah,
and I guess that does lend into the conversation that Belinda has with him at the end of the episode, that
yeah,
there's
yeah,
this that you're just burning through the universe, and sometimes you
mhm,
don't care about the consequences, other times you do, and but we'll get
mhm.
to that whole conversation when we get to the end of the episode and talk about all that stuff. But
Which all guaranteed is fair,
yeah.
minus what Russell T Davies just wrote in the entire first fucking part of this, like, not even just the episode, but, like, the last season, like,
Hmm.
I
No,
don't
no, I
it's
agree.
it's fine.
There is an
It's fine.
inconsistency. It feels like I get where you're coming from. I
You're
completely
telling
get
me
it.
he cares about racist motherfuckers. He doesn't care about the other people helping this rebellion? Like,
Oh
I'm
god.
sorry.
No, no,
Just
I get what you
pick
mean.
a lane. I
I
don't like, I get the purpose of it,
it's
for sure.
bring it back to when this era first started and Russell Davies was coming back,
Yeah.
and I said I'm just worried I'm going to have the same problems I had the first time around with Russell T Davies, but maybe even more so. Um,
Mhm,
it was a thing about the 10th Doctor era that kind of irked me a little bit. It was that one week the 10th Doctor would be more than willing to lay down his life for something,
mhm,
and then in another episode he'd be a little bit selfish and arrogant about a very similar kind of thing.
mhm.
So what you're saying kind of reminds me of that a little bit, where like an inconsistency in who this version of the character is meant to be. Um,
Yeah,
and it depends on how much they draw upon that to say this is a character flaw which can be
yeah,
explored, or if it's like you say, just an inconsistency in the writing that's never going to get addressed. It's
yeah,
it depends
yeah,
on where it
yeah.
goes, but
I know.
no, but no, I can see where you're coming from in regards when you
Mhm.
compare it to the other moments that we've had.
Mind
Yeah,
you, this doctor is still supposed to be the most, like,
healed,
evolved,
healed, and
healed. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I feel like a healed doctor would be like, "You know what? Maybe I should be more responsible than knocking out a power line to an entire hospital, but this is quirky and funny and witty, haha." Like,
okay, but from
still not
there,
Space Baby is dumb though, but yeah,
it's
sorry.
still not Space Babies. Just to be clear, it's still not
Yeah,
Space
yeah,
Babies.
sure. Still better than from their last time we did this.
um, but yeah, from there we get essentially a scene where we get a little bit more exposition delivered to Belinda about who the Doctor is,
Mhm,
um, why the Doctor was looking for Belinda, with a little hint of secrecy there. I will
mhm,
say I think all of this exposition in regards to the Doctor revealing that he is an alien, has two hearts, all of that kind
mhm,
of the normal information that is disposed. I think it was handled much better here than it was in Space Babies. Thinking about Space Babies, where in Space Babies it felt like it was just a 10-minute dump of
yeah,
exposition.
yeah,
Here it felt like an actual natural conversation that was happening in
mhm,
relation to what else was happening.
yep,
With like the X-ray blanket. and Belinda showing that like she's just a natural like medical like nurse, like she
Yeah,
just has a natural
yeah,
affinity to helping people, and
yep,
the Doctor picking up on that and recognizing that in her. And yeah, I just felt like all of that kind of stuff was handled pretty well in regards of just
yeah,
getting Belinda up to speed with
mhm,
who he is in like the most
yep,
basic form. And then we also got and within that we got the little hint of the Doctor has been told about Belinda from somebody.
mhm,
So someone like gave me your name and told me to look into you. Interestingly enough,
mhm,
that when he says that, we do have a little motif of the Gallifrey theme playing.
mhm,
Um, and there's some sort of timey-wimey stuff going on there because he says I have to get my
mhm.
timelines right. God knows what that means. Like what
Shroop,
this
shroop,
swoop.
shroop,
What, but just yeah, in terms of the bigger
yeah,
picture of who Belinda is to the Doctor, what
mhm,
where that's all going. The
mhm,
clues we're given is literally the Doctor's been told by someone, and he told me about you, and
mhm.
and there's a motif of the Gallifrey theme that plays, which with Murray Gold you never know if that's
Yeah,
like an actual like hint towards something, or if it's him just I like that bit of music, I'm just going to use it here because we're sort of talking about the Doctor a little bit. So who
mhm.
who knows?
I honestly, like, I really wish we could have had this as the first season opener
I was thinking
in
the
terms of,
exact
like,
same
that
thing.
type of style. Like, I think it sucks because we know so much is riding on this season, and I feel like this season is my I know I'm getting ahead of myself, and I always correct myself when I'm wrong on this show.
Hmm.
And I also know that I have a lot of hot takes that other people don't have. I feel like this season is gonna feel what the first season should have been like, and it
Mm,
might be a little bit too late.
mm,
I think this would have been a perfect episode to get an idea of who the Doctor is, also introducing to the US crowd again,
hmm.
beyond just the David Tennant era. And kind of like the obviously with like Sasha and that the risk that comes with being in the Doctor's life. I feel like I enjoyed the opening. I enjoyed how Belinda was truly just like, I don't need a man to explain to me what's happening here. Like, I'm like, clearly people are hurt. I'm gonna jump into action and try to help them being hurt. Like
Hmm.
the rest of like now that I'm down here, like it's immediately that second nature of like her being a nurse kicking in and being like, okay, like what are you doing here? Like just wanting to immediately jump in and help.
Yeah,
Versus I feel like with Ruby, everything just felt like so amazed and shooketh at like
yeah,
every which is a natural too, mind you, all of it is natural. Like I appreciate Belinda's part in this and like Belinda's part in the scene and like I think anytime that you have a companion that pops in that isn't completely like up the Doctor's metaphorical asshole.
yes, yes, yes,
So I think like Belinda has stepped into her role as a companion super like not companion, just willingness to help immediately
yeah,
and like jump to action regardless of what this means for her in the long run, really.
yeah.
And like it's also a bluntness about it when she tells when they're picking her up where she's like, "You don't even want me, you want this other motherfucker." Like, like just like so blunt of like, "I can't even help you in this situation." But like it's very clear that something's happening. The Doctor's been trying to help in their own way. People have lost their friends and
Hmm.
lives and that to this revolution that's happening.
Yeah,
And like her just taking a peek of like, "Okay, I'm gonna try help," and then even, like, makes the witty comment to the doctor about, like, typical doctor always sitting back while the nurses do the work. I thought it was a really cool witty way as well with, like, the medical equipment and, like, the X-ray blankets is a well-written way of showing, like, "Hey, I have 2 hearts," without being like, "Oh, look at me, I have 2 hearts," just like, "Oh, look at the" like, it was kind of him teasing the wonders that he could show her, but, like, not really to the like, it in a way that Belinda's character can acknowledge and not be bewildered by versus, like, a really, really flashy,
yeah,
like yeah. Great opener for Belinda,
yeah.
again.
Like it's good to have a companion who will push back against the Doctor in some way, shape, or form.
Mhm,
Because benefits both of them. It obviously makes the
Yeah.
companion be able to stand on their own 2 feet a little bit more, have a bit more agency in
Mhm.
what's going on, but also it makes the Doctor more interesting.
Yeah.
It makes
Yeah, you can't just be charming and witty all the time,
yeah,
right?
you have
Yeah.
it makes it highlights the alien nature of the character more so,
Mhm.
which was lacking last year for me. I mean, I loved Ruby. I thought Millie Gibson was really good. Um,
Yeah.
but there was, like you say, an element of she was just very enabling and just wow, this is all amazing and all of that stuff. Um,
Mhm.
so it's nice for Shooty to have someone who will push against his version of the character and
Yeah.
help highlight why he isn't perfect, why he's still striving to be
Mhm.
better, and like
Yep.
why he can't always get there. Like there is
Mhm.
a degree of removal from humanity to who the Doctor is, and having a companion who will push back against some of the things he does and says highlights that.
Mhm. Yeah, I feel like with Ruby and the Doctor, it was just like we're trying to paint the Doctor as this hip, cool,
Hmm. Yeah.
person, and, like, it's like they're just going out to get, like, gin and tonics with
Yeah.
the besties, kinda like we do, but we're not saving the world.
Yeah. 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 No, like.
Versus, like, if there's accountability here, and I think it's kind of like why myself, I really like swapping over from, like, Rose to Martha to Donna, who's finally like,
Hmm.
What you doing?"
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And
Like.
that, like, gives so much more emphasis to you can't always be starstruck by the Doctor.
Yeah. Like
Everybody
it's
starstruck by the Doctor knows holding them accountable.
with this Doctor in particular, having Belinda pushing
Yeah.
back against him, it makes him feel more doctorly to me, because it starts to make
Mhm.
the whole, like you say, like going to the club, dancing, doing all
Mhm.
his like slang, like current slang stuff, all that. It starts to feel more like the Doctor
Yeah.
putting on a mask so he can seem more relatable to a human,
Mhm.
opposed
Mhm.
to like saying just the enabling, like he's
Mhm.
just a goofy goober. Just
Yeah.
it starts to feel more like, oh, this is the Doctor projecting a persona that makes him more relatable to the people.
Yeah.
But in reality there is that very still that alien nature just coursing
Mhm.
through him, and can
Yep.
be unpredictable and stuff. So yeah, going on, Belinda makes the choice after Manny's words. Manny, who I'm convinced is just here doing his James Bond audition. Honestly, it's just,
Mhm, oh my
just
god, okay, when Manny's holding up that fucking pipe, I'm like, you're not what is happening here? This is not doing it
is
looks
that
almost
helping?
greasy.
Is that,
Probably
are
not. I
you
don't think it didn't even look like there was a forced atmosphere to
Are you,
that.
is the insinuation here that Manny is so strong he can hold up a ceiling that's being bombarded by God knows what? Is that the insinuation here?
Yeah.
That's funny. And someone even specifically says, Manny, hold up the ceiling. Like it's his
Yeah,
job.
like
It's his
like
that you're a designated ceiling holder. If you if you
Mhm,
could get on with that,
mhm.
please and thank you.
Yeah,
But yes,
yeah,
amongst that, Manny does say to Belinda that this is all her fault, and she kind of takes that to
mhm,
heart.
mhm,
And in a roundabout kind of way, it is her doing that's got this situation. Well, it's
mhm,
Alan. It's the combined Alan and her situation that's got this
mhm.
happening. But she decides to reactivate Scoot, the little polish bot, um to sacrifice herself essentially to
Yeah,
take the heat off everyone else, and
yeah,
like I'll just do it if this is going to stop everyone being killed
mhm,
and all of that. I will take the hit.
mhm.
So take me to your leader and sign me up. Which, by the way, I didn't mention the like little animation of the metal bits getting chunked on. Um,
Mhm.
that was like that looks painful, and that's just an animation. That doesn't look
Yep.
pleasant at all. It also reminded me of one of the Superman movies, which was also kind of terrifying as a child. We get to the AI chamber, and we get revealed that the AI is not an AI. It is Alan from the beginning of the episode, who
Mhm,
has also been brought back here, but because of the time fracture, he was picked up 10 years earlier, um,
mhm.
and set in motion
Mhm,
this robot revolution where the robots
mhm.
took control, and Alan, using his controlling nature, and has been treating this whole planet as his plaything essentially, and is obsessed with Belinda still. And that's one of the reasons why it's like a paradox. I've forgotten the type of paradox you call it, like a bootstrap paradox, like what started this whole chain of events in the first place,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
they only went to get Alan because Belinda, whilst being transported to the planet, said, "Hey, go get Alan. This is this is Alan's fault. Go find him."
Mhm.
So they do go find Alan, but they end up time traveling before that, and it's a whole timey-wimey loop that keeps presumably fulfilling itself over and over again. Alan has quite the makeup job. Um, I will say, I think we were saying before we started recording that there was a very Cyberman-like element to this whole baddie situation. And I will say the makeup and prosthetics on Alan made me like, oh, maybe they could actually do a pretty cool Cyberman design, maybe. But that's a whole other thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
how did you feel about the reveal of Alan as the robot overlord?
Yeah, I mean, it's, like, weird, like, how they didn't explain how, like, there's this AI thing that's controlling everything, but also wants to get married to Belinda. So I feel like I was surprised to see Al inside of there. Also see Russell T Davies, "You wanna kill this sweet baby bean?"
Yeah, Khaleesi has come to make
With
an
no
appearance.
yeah. He's like, "I have my 2 pieces to input into this." Yeah, I think in this, like, I think it's really, like, Belinda's just sees people in pain, is like, "I'm the one that's causing this pain." Once, like, Belinda's had, like, a minute to, like, settle into the realization was kinda a little bit what's happening, 'cause she was like, "This is really fucking mad, and I'm sorry your friend died, but we gotta go." You know what I mean? Kinda that
Hmm.
type of stuff. Versus, like, being like, "Oh, okay, like, I'm clearly putting if I'm the cause of this, and it's causing this much pain, then I need to be the one to, like, end it, like, taking responsibility," type of thing.
Hmm.
Um, Seemingly fucking quickly, all
Yeah,
things considered,
she's very
which doesn't
quick
happen a
to.
lot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's
yeah,
very quick to be settled in with this situation that is unfolding
yeah,
before her, and I don't know
like
if that's like a grander reason for that that may be hinted at, or
yeah,
if it's just in her nature
um,
to be very like, well, it's happening in front of me, I just have to deal with it. Like it could swing
yeah,
either
pretty
way.
much. Yeah, like, I thought, like, it was Belinda was like, "Okay, like, I'm not here to fuck around," emphasis yet again, which I
Hmm.
really enjoyed. It being Al, like, of course, you
Hmm.
know.
Yeah.
We also have that quick little moment where, like, they're talking about if the 2 certificates touch each other and 2 and the atoms of something, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, and Blair's like, "I've seen sci-fi movies, this is how it works, right?" The doctor's like, "That's exactly how it works,"
Yeah.
which is
Yeah. Yeah.
the first time I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, a quick thing, yeah, that they got it right in the movies, everybody. Hilarious to me. Uh, I in that moment, I was like, don't think about this too hard. I should've done it with the hospital scene, but I can't get the hospital scene go. Um,
Oh
it was
God.
just like I feel like the doctor's like, "Not everything is like the movies," and the doctor's like, "Nope, this is exactly how it works in the movies.
This is the
We're just
thing they
gonna
got
wrap
right.
it up real quick. We're gonna
They
explain it so quickly,
they got it right
so
this time.
quickly." Yeah, yeah. For me in this, which I think is I feel like I had to talk about this with my partner, but because part of it felt like weak writing, 'cause Belinda had to kind of explain who Al was as a person a little bit via the doctor being like, "Why did you split it up with Al?"
Hmm.
Right? And, like, get the realization that it's Al
Hmm.
behind not like that part I could see happening, like, you know, being still obsessed. He was clearly immature. We got that from the first 5 fucking seconds of seeing him.
Yes. Yes.
And, like, we could all just look at him and be like, "You're an asshole."
Yeah.
So to see him there and then be like, "Okay," and then the doctor being like, "You have to" like, that part of having them explain why he was an asshole yet again, and, like, it felt w weak in the writing part of it, and I don't know if it's just from my standpoint as a person who has been through really toxic situations before.
Hmm.
But I was just like, we get it. You don't have to like make Belinda re-explain. Like Belinda's fucking smart. Look how quick she jumped into action. She fucking knows he was a shitty person.
Yeah,
Like it just felt like it could have been written a different way. The companion shouldn't have to describe why the villain's the villain.
it feels like that was just for the audience's benefit. It's like
Yeah.
why, like even though, like I say, it's all very signposted in that first flashback
Mhm.
scene, what
Mhm.
sort of person Alan
Mhm.
is. Um,
Yeah.
then having the little flashback as to why, which seemingly happens on the same night as the
Yeah.
certificate that he proposes. And
Yeah.
again, I don't know how old they're meant to be in that 17 years ago scene, but it's the thing of like, I don't know if Belinda is meant to be the age of the actor or not. Like, like I say,
Yeah.
the actor is like 32, so
Yeah.
17 years ago puts as like what, 15, 16, in terms of like explaining who, like what sort of person Al is.
Mhm.
um Again, it's just a very quick shorthanded way to show, oh, this is why Belinda broke up, because he's a controlling misogynist essentially. um
Mhm.
and like it feels like Belinda would already know that.
Mhm. Yep.
so so
100%.
so it's
Yep.
literally just for the audience's benefit of showing them, oh, that's why they broke up. And I get it, like some,
Mhm.
I feel like this is a product of, is it bad writing, or is it that, because I've heard people in the industry talk about this, like
Mhm.
studios and producers are often telling their writers to dumb things down because they expect people watching to be on their phones. That is literal conversations
Mhm.
people, like writers, have
Yep.
had with producers. And I feel like that kind of expositional moment
Mhm.
is an example of that. Like they may not have been paying
Mhm.
attention at the start, so we need to reinforce who this person is again when the reveal
Yeah.
happens. So I understand why they do it, but you're right in the sense, like narratively and in the world of it, Belinda would know. Belinda would know exactly what this person is like.
I think, yeah, just for an episode that it felt very much along the lines of toxic masculinity,
Yes, yeah, yeah.
right? Not a shocking concept. Like
Mm-mm.
we know kind of we're hitting on some heavy things here,
Mm-hmm.
which I appreciate. I appreciate it's a discussion that needs to be happened. But just like in that moment, it's an episode about toxic masculinity. You obviously got Manny who's pissed at Belinda
Yep.
about the death instead of being pissed at the man, the doctor. You also have the but, like, the one that has to, like, start Belinda's, like, realization for the audience purposes is a fucking 'nother man being like, "Think, Belinda." You know, like, it just felt like
Yeah.
you could have just made
Yeah.
maybe
You
had
could
given
have.
that context at the beginning when you're talking with Alan and Belinda, which would have
Yeah.
explained why she was so quick to sell him out, which would have been like, "Okay, this is more understandable for those who are not seeing the warning signs of, like, the 'Are you
Yeah.
married?' comment." Like, yeah.
It feels like
Like
maybe a way to handle it would have been if you had the doctor going, like upon realizing, oh, this is
mhm.
Alan. You like, Linda quickly says, but
Yeah.
this is Alan. This is the guy who gave me the
Yeah.
certificate and stuff. And then the
Yeah.
doctor questioning Alan, why are you doing this? Like, what are you
Yeah.
gaining from this?
Mhm.
And then you have
Mhm.
Belinda explain
Yeah.
that this is what he was like and this is why I ended it with him, rather than, like you say, have the doctor go, think, Belinda, why did you end it?
Yeah, right? Like, it's mansplaining
Yeah,
a toxic man in an episode about toxic masculinity.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I just yeah, yeah, and I mean, like, to be fair, like, I might be the only one that has that kind of taker approach to it, right? Like,
No, I think like you're right. It would.
it's tough in the American market right now in terms
Yeah.
of that actual regard, so maybe not everybody saw that.
No.
Like,
Yeah.
it
I
just seemed
feel
more of
like,
a horrible attack.
yeah. I think some people. This is why, your view on things is valuable, because you can point these things out.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's you're right in the sense that, and I honestly feel like it's not bad faith from Russell. He probably just didn't think about it in that regard. Because he's just thinking, the doctor's the doctor, and he has to be the one to point these things out or
Yeah.
get people to think, because that's his role within the story. Um,
Mhm.
but like I say, like it could have been perfectly reasonable for the doctor to be questioning why this is all happening, and then have Belinda, especially since this is
Mhm.
essentially Belinda's story. This is Belinda's
Yeah.
introduction. This is a
Yeah.
way to establish her. So
Yeah.
it's perfectly fine for her to be the one to be like, explain it to the Doctor. This is why this guy is doing this, because this is what he was like
Mhm.
when I knew him.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I think that's valid. I think that's perfectly a
Yeah.
valid thing. And I will say, like, I felt Alan as a villain of the piece to be very one note. But it's that's kind of my criticism of him as a villain. Like, he is just very one note. He's bad because he's bad. Boom, done. And that's fine because, like, as I say, this is
Mhm.
Belinda's episode. It's there to introduce her, and it's introduced this
Mhm.
world, and so something's gonna, in a 45-minute time, something's got to
Yeah.
give within that, and we just quickly establish
Yeah.
who Alan is and what he's about, and we don't need to dwell on it too
Mhm.
much. I don't know. I feel like in another world you could expand upon all that
Mhm.
in some interesting ways, but for the sake of a 45-minute rompy, essentially comedy episode, when all is said
Yep.
and done,
Yeah.
I get it. I get why they don't expand on that side of things.
Still way better than Space Baby,
Yes,
mind you.
yes,
Like, everything I'm
100%.
talking about here is just, like, my actual thoughts of, like
And no, you're right. In
yeah.
terms of the space babies thing,
Yeah, yeah.
like, the villain gets punished appropriately, and
Mhm.
the Doctor
Mhm.
doesn't like go off on a weird tangent where it's like, why, like, I don't understand your
Yeah.
thinking right now. Just to quickly go back to the two certificates existing in the same place and time, because I actually, when I rewatched the episode, I
Mhm.
was like, okay, there's one thing in the story that I'm not getting, and I feel like I've just missed it. Is that,
Yeah.
how did this planet find out that Belinda, like, the planet or the solar system has been named after
Yeah.
Belinda? Like, how did that come
Yeah.
about? And I was like, did I miss something?
Mhm.
Or like, and then so I purposely, when I watched it again, was like, where do they explain it? So
Mhm.
what happened, if I'm getting this right or wrong, people feel free to
Mhm.
correct me, is that
Mhm.
the robots find the certificate with Belinda's name on in the future,
Mhm.
but upon returning to the planet, they go through the time fracture and go back 5,000 years. Um, so
Mhm.
this certificate becomes a foundational myth that is built up around that this, we exist because of Belinda, this thing that we
Mhm.
have.
Yep.
Why the robots got the certificate in the first place, like, no one knows. Maybe again because they do highlight the certificate again at the very ending shot, so there may be a reason for that and the mystery of Belinda and whatever. Um,
Mhm.
and the reason there are now two certificates in the same place at the same time is because they have that original one that the robots
Mhm.
found in the future, and the one that Belinda is now in possession of from her
Mhm.
time. Um,
Yep.
so I went back and checked because I was very like, how are there two certificates? Like, how did they get it in the first place? Did I miss something?
Yeah.
And this is why I like to
Yeah.
watch the episodes twice, because there was a reason. There was
Mhm.
a reason as to how that came
Yeah.
about. As for the visuals of that
Yep.
moment of the two certificates coming together
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
everything going zap, the whole sequence, big John Pertwee vibes, right down to the like,
Mhm.
there's a invasion of the dinosaurs. There is a story which has a similar moment where the villains are trying to take things back in time, but the Doctor, being a Time Lord, can resist this influence that is being untold, so he can move through the space while everyone else is frozen. And the exact
Mhm.
same thing happens here. Whilst the time is frozen, whilst these two atoms are kicking off against each other, the Doctor is still
Mhm.
able to move through the space and
Mhm.
give it a little extra zap when the moment
Mhm.
happens. There's also a callback in a way to Mordrin Undead, which is a Peter Davison story where two versions of the Brigadier meet and they touch and everything goes zap. So it was a kind of a cool callback to that as well, in a way. But then also just the
Mhm.
trippy
Lots of callbacks.
visuals, trippy trippy visuals of
Yeah.
the blue and the
Yeah.
red and the falling through time again was a very
Yep.
psychedelic John Pertwee like moment, because they do
Yep.
weird fucking visuals like that a lot during that era to demonstrate a
Yep.
weird timey thing happening. um, but no, I think all of that stuff was really, really well shot and just striking visuals to sort of demonstrate what was happening in that moment. Because I feel like
Mhm.
a few years ago, how they would have done that is they would have just had the things go, and there would have been like a white flash, and then everyone would have woken up. Like I feel like that's probably how they would have
Yeah.
shot that a few years ago.
Yep. Yeah.
So it was nice to have like a big flashy kind of visual moment to demonstrate what was happening, and then as that happens, we discover that Alan has been turned into a sperm and an egg, and
Mhm.
gets hoovered up, and
Yep.
maybe more interestingly, although sperm and eggs are pretty interesting, the doctor shot through Belinda's life like a bullet. So
Yep.
are we to assume that the doctor knows more about Belinda that he's letting on at this point,
Mm,
or did he just shoot through the part that she's lived up to this moment? Like,
yeah.
it's like, did he see her entire life? Did he see just
Mhm.
these? However, like, I don't know how old she's meant to be. Again, that's a
Yep.
bit confused for me. But
Yeah.
because and he's holding a baby. Is that Belinda as a baby? Is that someone else's baby that's related to Belinda? And so,
Mhm.
like, there's
Mhm.
big question mark over that.
Mhm. Yep.
Especially since they're drawing in the Monday stuff as well. And
Yeah.
um, yeah, is it? I have to be honest. I'm not sure. Throughout this episode, there's a bunch of lines which could just be throwaway little lines,
Mhm.
or if they're lines that have greater meaning and consequence, and like the doctor saying, "Me and you go back years," was
Yeah.
one of them for me. Like, it's like, is
Yeah.
there more to that he's saying, or is it literally just him making a gag about the fact that he just went through her whole life? Yeah, how are you? What's your take on the doctor skimming through her life and potential consequences of what that might be?
Yeah, my take is more like Gleesio because it's gonna get really I was
I
trying
see,
to
Khaleesi.
appease as long as I could.
Audio
Khaleesi is just not.
audio listeners, there is a cat jumping around in Tash's background every so often.
Let me go let her out. I'll be back before I do. Russell T Davies, look what you did.
You scared
You
that
s
cat.
you hear her? Why would you do this? Look, she's so sweet.
The moment you
She's
said
just a
his name,
baby.
she stopped meowing.
Yeah, he's a bastard, isn't he? Killing cats.
Your hot take. What's your
Yeah.
take on the doctor's shooting through Belinda's life and what that may or may not mean?
Ugh. I'm gonna start with my fear.
Yes, go on.
My fear is we're setting up for another Clara situation,
Mm.
is my overlying fear here. I'm just gonna leave that there.
Yeah. Okay. No. No.
Maybe not, maybe not,
There
maybe
isn't.
not at all.
There
Maybe not at
is.
all.
There's a sniff of similarity there, for sure.
Yes, especially with, like, the age gap stuff. I just potential, not tied to,
Hmm.
potential.
It is a big what if at the moment. Like, we don't actually know what it
Mhm,
means, and I feel like your fear is pretty justified because considering how the big mystery regarding our previous companion last year resulted in
mhm.
what can only be described as a damp, wet fart. Um, I
A
don't.
wet fart, yes,
I
yeah.
don't have a lot of confidence in another mysterious companion
Mhm,
reveal moment.
yeah.
So I completely understand the fear of
Mhm.
where that might
I
go.
mean, a lot of people love Clara too, like, to but, like, it was written in a way where it made sense, wasn't my favorite
Mm,
companion storyline,
mm-hmm,
uh, but, like, some people really like Clara, and there's a lot of callbacks in this.
mm-hmm.
Also, the "he told me about you"
Yeah,
thing,
yeah, yeah.
like, I'm now just getting whiplash to the Christmas episode of, like, was it the doctor telling the doctor about this thing?
I mean,
Like,
yeah,
we
very,
clearly saw it literally just happen
yeah, yeah, for
in terms
sure.
of, like, the episode right before this one, right? Like,
That,
now you've been in her life for so long, and the wovenness of, like, we go years back.
mm-hmm,
How far in year I don't know. I'm just seeing snippets, and it might just be another callback to show,
mm.
like, they are trying to franchise this and, like, do another, like, boot it up, you know? I think yeah.
I know, I feel like it's a pretty, sensible guess that it might have been the Doctor telling himself about Belinda in some way.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
because I can't think of anyone else off the top of my head who would be like, "Hey, you need to go find this person."
Mhm,
like, like,
mhm.
yeah. So no, no, I get it. I can get it.
Yeah.
Like like I say, there is a similarity to like with Clara, it was the Doctor trying to investigate. Is she human? Like,
Mhm,
why does she keep appearing, and why can she not remember appearing? But she seems to have like
mhm,
echoes of herself. Here, it's weird because it feels like it's not like Belinda's got a weird sci-fi thing happening, but at the same time,
mhm,
it feels like there's clearly something happening. They're clearly building up to some sort of, like they put it in the episode, as some destiny
mhm,
link as to why
mhm,
they've been fated to be together for some reason. That's what they're leaning into.
mhm, mhm,
Um, I was kind of the feeling that, and again, it's very Clara-esque because it's the same thing with Clara, that it feels like someone pushing the two of them together
mhm,
for their own reasons. Which again, it was a Clara thing as well. Like it was revealed that Missy was pushing Clara and the Doctor together because she
mhm,
banked on them being a kind of destructive companionship and
mhm,
and chaos companionship. So it does feel like there's another force who is trying to push Belinda and the Doctor together for some reason, but not enough information has really been given at this point to draw any real conclusions on what that might be or
mhm,
who that might be, or if it is just all a coincidence. If it does turn out
mhm,
to be just a one big coincidence, and given how last season ended, it might
mhm.
just be something as ordinary as that. Who knows?
Yep.
But yeah,
Yeah.
moving on as the episode runs on through. Like I say, Alan gets scooped up. Uh, Linda enters the TARDIS for the first time. Once they sort of say their goodbyes to Manny and the guys,
Mhm.
just like, hey, everyone, just forgive each
Manny
other.
Manny seemingly just over it real
Just
quick.
over it.
Man
Everyone.
has, like, 4 fucking lines the whole show,
It's
all of
really,
which are very angry, and then, "Oh, no,
we're
no
all good.
problem."
We're all good.
Yeah,
That's some classic. We've got to
all
wrap things up.
forgotten,
We've got a classic Doctor Who. We're
all
wrapping up.
forgotten. Mhm, mhm,
45 minutes I will stand by is not long enough to tell a Doctor Who story, and because that's exactly what happens. Like everyone, yep, we're all good. Right, thanks everyone. Bye.
yeah. Robots also happy about their freedom.
That's why I liked Dot and Bubble so much last year, because
Yeah,
it felt like, oh, this is like, this ending is so purposefully unsatisfying. Like
yeah.
like that's why,
Mhm,
like where, but here
mhm.
it's that good old, yep, we're on the clock here, the credits are going to roll soon, so it's all
Yeah,
good, right?
yeah,
All
yeah,
good.
yeah.
um
Everyone had fun explaining to your children what a sperm and egg are as
uh,
well, mind you.
um they need to know somehow. That's so yeah,
Mhm,
Belinda goes into the TARDIS for the first time. We get our
mhm.
traditional companion gets to experience the bigger on
Yep.
the inside. It stands to why I'm enjoying Belinda thus far, is that she's like,
Mhm.
yeah, well, it's in front of me, so I guess I have to accept it. I mean, it's mad, it's
Yeah, yeah,
ridiculous, but it's
yeah.
my eyes aren't tricking me. Like it is what it is. Um, and she has a little funny remark about that as she enters, like when he says it's bigger on the inside, and she's like, yeah, yeah, I see it.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm.
do you think this was well handled as a, we've seen this many times now over the years, the companion getting introduced to the TARDIS.
Artist.
How does this one rank for you in terms of, because it's a telling moment of how this companion's going to be when they have their first
Yeah,
interaction with that.
yeah. Yeah, I feel like it, like, seemed, like, really up Belinda's character
Hmm.
of, like like, she even pokes her head out. She's like, "If you think all of this is mad, like, this is even more mad." Not in the sense of, like, cool mad, but just like, "What the"
This is
What the
what
fuck
am I
is
being presented with
yeah,
here?
yeah. Why am I here?
And her
Versus
instant
like, "Oh, I'm so lucky to be here."
like the second thing out of her mouth is, "Yeah, now you take me home."
Kind of I'm not gonna like fall for smoke and mirrors type of
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
trick here. Yeah.
It's
Take me home.
it's I think it's like a really good balance of she knows what she's looking at is amazing and acknowledges how
Yeah.
amazing it all is,
Mhm.
but she instantly recognizes that sh like the doctor is dangerous. There are consequences to this life that he is leading, and
Mhm.
the whole impetus to her adventure was against her will. Like
Mhm.
this whole situation has
Yeah.
been against her will from the beginning.
Yeah.
It's not like a Ruby situation where Ruby sort of strange things were going on and then it
Mhm.
got ramped up and then Ruby by her own volition gets caught up in it a little bit and takes
Mhm.
action into her own hands. And in
Mhm.
Belinda's situation, it's like I was just living my normal life and then I got kidnapped.
Yeah.
And now
I wanna go back to my normal life, please.
I would like to leave, and
Yeah.
I'm now confronted with this guy who seems to deal with death very frequently and often, and
Mhm.
doesn't acknowledge it in a way that I would expect someone to acknowledge it,
Yeah.
and it's and much in the way that she was kidnapped, like you say, he just takes a full DNA reading of her without even telling her that's what he's doing, and
Mhm.
she's able to recognize and call that out. Um,
Mhm.
and it fleshes out Shooty's doctor more, so it gives him something more
Yeah.
interesting to
Yep.
act opposite. Yeah, I we were saying this off in our stasis tubes while we were communicating while the
Yeah.
trailers were happening. Um,
Yep.
that the thing that we seemingly both latched onto with those trailers, that it was going to be interesting to have a more tension between the doctor and the companion in regards to
Mhm.
how she's going to view him, how she's going to interact with him in these adventures, and
Mhm.
she's more grown up, she's more
Mhm.
sure of herself, and yeah, with that was the thing that we both were like, I'm hoping that they really nail this because it's a very different flavor to what we've had recently, and
Mhm.
and seemingly from this first episode, it's kind of working out the way that I think both of us were hoping
Yeah.
it was going to go. Um, because yeah, it just makes everything feel more natural. Not like you're saying earlier, not to be mistaken with Ruby's experience being like, but the thing is Ruby is younger, and it
Yep.
is going to be more wowed by all of this and like, oh,
Mhm.
I'm for the adventure and all of
Mhm.
that stuff. Whereas Belinda is a little bit more cynical, has a little bit more of an edge,
Yep.
and yeah, and this whole TARDIS introductory scene highlights
Mhm.
highlights all of that, which is nice. It's nice to have like I say, like one of our criticisms of last season was that Ruby and the Doctor just they start off the best of pals and they end
Mhm.
the best of pals. Like there was literally no development. There was no gear changing from episode 1 to episode 8 across
Mhm.
that season. Whereas it feels like here
Yeah.
already we're starting in a place, and by the end of the season they'll probably be in a different place. So
Yeah.
that's really the hook for me this season, is getting to watch this dynamic morph and change as the season goes on.
Mhm.
More than anything, more than the mystery of, we'll get to it now, like the mystery of what has happened. Why can they not go back to Earth in Belinda's time? Like, why are
Mhm.
landmarks floating in space? Like,
Mhm.
great. That's a weird sci-fi thing happening. I'm sure Russell Davis won't
Yeah.
screw the pooch on that at all. But
Mhm.
something I am legitimately interested in watching is
Yeah.
whatever this dynamic is going to be and how it's going to change. I feel like we're
Yeah.
now we're at the end of the episode. Obviously, as
Mhm.
we say, it ends with um, Belinda and the Doctor trying to go back to Belinda's home, but something is stopping them. It's probably Mrs. Flood. Um, something is
Mm.
stopping them
Mhm.
from being able to go back to present day Earth, bouncing them off, and planet destroyed or something, because somehow
Yeah.
when they're looking out the doors they don't notice it, and
Mhm.
then immediately after they close the doors, the fucking Eiffel Tower is it's
Yep,
in their face. Somehow they
yep.
missed that. They did.
Uh,
They
a
didn't see
car, an Eiffel Tower.
that. um,
Who knows?
like, look, okay, maybe I'm being a bit exaggeration in terms of I don't care about that stuff. Sure, I'm interested to see
Mhm,
what that is and what that's all about, and
mhm,
um, but it's also a case of you fool me once. You fool me once like you did last season. I'm not I'm
mhm.
not being tricked
Yeah.
again. I am not
Yeah,
I'm not being suckered
yeah.
in. Especially if it's another classic villain who's doing this, who's a beloved classic villain, and you're
Mm.
gonna I don't know what you're gonna do. What's the alternative to being dragged by a dog leash? Like, what's the,
Uh-huh, ah.
like so
Yeah,
it is a little bit. I am in a little bit of a mindset of, hey, fool me once, I'm not doing it again. I'm not
yeah,
I'm not falling for that rodeo again.
yeah,
I'm just gonna let this thing
yeah.
happen, and we'll see what happens as we get there.
Yeah, like, I feel like it, like, sets up a good narrative as to, like, why, "Hey, clearly you're gonna be stuck with me."
Hmm.
If we were just able to drop you off back home, we wouldn't have this season or have introduced this, like, strong companion, and I think it's gonna, like, help this version of the Doctor to, like, grow and understand, like, the dualities of the Doctor, which has led to,
Hmm.
like, some really powerful stuff, right? Like I said,
Hmm.
Donna David Tennant. I think it was a good ending to, like, explain, like, "Hey, we're gonna keep going
Yes. Like.
through this thing, and Claire are gonna have to go on a journey here whether we wanted to or not for,
Hmm.
not for a benefit of you or for me, or and none of like, we didn't want this," versus, like, with Ruby, it's like, "Let's dive into this mystery of your mom, like,
Yeah.
let's figure it out for you." This is a time where they're both clearly like, "Well, means outside of our hands are forcing us together, so we're gonna be on this fucking journey together."
Hmm.
But, like, which is, I think, a smart way of doing it. I think it's very clear there's going to be that, like, more demigod kind of atmosphere to this, especially with the teaser for next week, and seeing Mrs. Flood, who we're gonna see a lot more.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I think it was a good-ish ending,
Yeah. Do you think?
much better than other stuff.
Do you
Like,
think?
I wish we coulda gotten this
Do you think?
last season.
Yeah. Do you think the ish like me is purely coming from a place of, hey, I saw what happened last time. If last time hadn't have happened or was
Yeah,
more of a satisfying conclusion, would you be
mhm.
more intrigued by what the big whatever this cataclysmic thing that has clearly happened? Would you be more intrigued in what that is if the finale for last year had been more satisfying? Um, would you feel like, okay, I have faith in them building into whatever this is going to be, or like I was saying,
Yeah,
I feel burnt by, by what happened last time, so I'm not putting my
yeah.
eggs in that basket.
I think definitely a little bit of being burned. I think even as optimistic as I was as well with, like, Jodie's seasons,
Hmm.
right? Like, I didn't have the same nitpicks that other people had about it. Or
Hmm.
nitpicks, not even nitpicks, like, just general concerns. I was like, I can get through this, I can get on board with this, like, adapt and change, like, I can see a vision here.
Hmm.
Starting off last year with, like, okay, like, there's a vision. We can get there. There's a vision, and then it just, like, absolutely shitting again of just being like, "Or fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times. You gotta
Hmm.
think I'm a bloody fucking fool at this rate."
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I don't I think especially knowing that this was all being filmed before even really getting
Nearly back
feedback
to
for the
back.
first
Yeah.
season. Yeah, like, I don't wanna get my hopes up. My only thing that I, like, am looking for out of the season is just, like, justice for Shooty.
Hmm.
Especially with all of the rumors, like,
Yeah.
I think Shooty is gonna be kind of a justice for Jodie situation for me as well, like,
Hmm.
they they were great doctors, like, I think ship planning on production and
Yes.
writing and stuff like that does not make them less of who I think they can be in this role, or who they were in this role was for Jodie. I'm excited to see, like, the complexity, like, dynamic with Belinda and Shooty, or, like, Belinda and Shooty's version of the Doctor, to hopefully showcase some of the other more complex things, even though 'cause we're having this healed version.
Hmm. Quotes.
I'm excited to see, yeah. I'm excited to see how that plays out. I think it was a good setup for, like, "Hey, there's a mystery happening, and our companions are stuck in this situation versus willingly partaking
Yeah.
in exploring the situation.
Yes. Yeah, like
Yeah.
there has to be a
There's
narrative.
an up in the stakes
Yeah.
kind of.
It does feel like the
Yeah.
stakes are up. It does feel like there's, as the season goes on, it's going to go into some more sort of darker territory, which is why I think we
Mhm.
started off on such a comedy romp
Mhm.
episode, so we could gradually go down to that level.
Yeah.
Um, and there needed to be a narrative reason for why they can't go back to Earth, because because it's in Belinda's character that, hey, this was fun and all, but I've got my own life to go back to.
Yep.
So there has to be a narrative reason as to why they
Mhm.
can't go back. So yeah, that all makes sense. And
Mhm.
in terms of, because we haven't really talked too much about Shooty or the Doctor in this episode, because we've been very focused
Mhm.
on Belinda, because she's the new hot thing
Mhm.
to focus on. I will say, because I was quite critical of Shooty's Doctor last year, and I
Mhm.
was quite hard. I found it hard to see the Doctor in his performance,
Mhm.
because they were taking some swings into some new directions, which didn't all
Yeah.
gel with me. I will say this episode, he certainly felt a lot more comfortable and confident with what he
Mhm.
was doing and
Mhm.
his role within the story. Again, it seems really stupid, and I understand this. It seems ridiculous and stupid, but
Yeah.
like there is an element of what makes each Doctor the Doctor is their aesthetic and their costume, and Shooty is
Mhm.
never in his costume. so so so
Yeah.
it 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 it's a ridiculous thing, and I understand it is very much a nitpick and it shouldn't really matter, but for some reason it kind of does, and I don't know if I can put into words why it does. I mean, obviously in
Mhm.
this particular episode he is wearing an outfit because he's in the outfit of this planet because he's been there for
Mhm.
so long, and which is fine. That's
Yeah.
fine, you do that
Yeah.
stuff. But at the beginning of the episode, where he's in
Mhm.
two completely different costumes,
Mhm.
like, why? When did he even find time to change? Like, why was he in one costume and then he's in a completely different one all of a sudden? Like, yeah, but that's a whole nitpick. I understand, but overall, I will say in this episode, like I say, he felt much more at home with the character, um,
Mhm.
and he felt a lot more. And he did feel a lot more doctory to me in this episode, and I think
Mhm.
part of that was, like I was saying, it's down to the fact we've got a companion who is actively bringing that out of him.
Yeah.
Both performance wise, it's giving Shooty something different to bounce off of, and
Mhm.
writing wise, you have to write him differently because of that. And yeah, I do feel like his, so far episode one in, he feels a lot more like the character that I recognize. But I think we're also, it makes me excited to see an episode this season that is much more focused around him and
Yeah.
what he's got going on. Rumors and leaks abound, and I mean, I've tried to keep away from them because I want to experience the episodes as they're intended to be experienced. And I know, which
Mhm.
is counterintuitive for a podcast where
Yeah.
you're meant to be seeking out all the information.
Yeah,
A,
yeah.
a couple of them have slipped through the net for me. One of them is
Mhm.
a big old rumor, which has been rumored forever, about Shooty's potential future in the show or not future in the
Mhm.
show. One of them is about, I believe it's episode 3 of this season, in that it's
Mhm.
a sequel to an old story, not an old story,
Mhm.
a modern old story. Um,
Mhm.
I'm trying to not give away too much for anyone who doesn't want any spoilers. Um,
Yeah.
but the episode that it is meant to be sequelizing is a very Doctor focused episode. Um,
Mhm.
so it'll be interesting to see where they go with that. And it's a much more, again, trying to be, not get too specific, but
Yeah.
a more horror focused episode
Mhm.
as well. So I'm pretty
Mhm.
excited for that. I mean, it could go awfully if
Yeah.
Russell forgets what the point of the original story
Mhm.
was. But obviously sequel, you got to try and take it in a different direction. But I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see
Yeah.
Shooty in that kind of story, which is going to be more around him and what his Doctor is about and performing that kind of
Yep.
stuff. But like I say, episode 1 in, I'm seeing more of the Doctor in his performance in
Mhm.
this, and skipping back to Joy to the World. Similarly, I can talk. In Joy
Yep.
to the World, I felt it there as well, and he had the bonus of
Yeah.
being in his Doctor outfit, which helped a lot.
Yep, yep.
We were both kind of frustrated by more so how his Doctor was being written or directed. It's hard to tell what
Mhm,
the case was last season. And I mean, indeed, it could have been Shooty trying to experiment and figure out what worked for him.
mhm. Yeah, like, I think, like, despite my, like, my criticism or stuff in this episode's writing and small clearly small things that
Hmm.
not everybody would see or look into, like I said, I wish we had this as
Listen,
the opener
I was to say
last
quickly,
season. I think
if
Shitty would have got a better fitting chance with a lot of people.
it's true.
I think yeah,
I was just
yeah.
want to quickly say,
I
like, if anyone
I'm not
thinks we're
yeah.
over analyzing things, that is the point of having a podcast. There's no point of doing a podcast of something and not analyzing.
I feel like Shooty has it in him. I just hope it's not, like, too little too late 'cause I think it would be
Yeah.
absolutely like, heartbreaking yet again for everyone to say, like, this was the worst Doctor because of bad writing.
Hmm.
I hope
It's
the writing does him justice. I feel like there's gonna be some silly topics as well as some serious topics
yeah,
upcoming. I think it is a different like, era of how many episodes you get as well, like,
yeah,
which
for
kind of takes
sure.
away from, like I think last season would have felt different had there been other episodes, and those were filler episodes. Like, I just felt like it was a bunch of just random filler stuff
Yeah. I mean, there
that
were 2 episodes
standalones
when he
weren't
wasn't there.
horrible, but yeah,
We can talk
hate
about
that. Yeah.
the behind the scenes of what may be happening with Shooty once we get to the end of the season. Once we actually
Yes, yeah.
we know we will have the answers at
Yep.
the end of the season, and when we can
Yeah.
actually have proper opinions about
Mhm.
it, because we'll have a little bit more context,
Mhm.
and like we'll have a bit more of an idea of what may not have happened. All right
Mhm.
then. So Robot Revolution. Uh,
Mhm.
what are you thinking? How many sperm eggs out of 10 are you giving
Oh
the
god,
robot revolution?
why you have to word it that way? I don't even know. I can't remember what our reading
Oh,
scale
I
was.
should
But
reiterate just in case anyone new is
yeah,
listening to this.
yeah,
So 0 is an obvious get in the bin. I never want to see this ever again.
yeah.
10 is essentially masterpiece, and then 5
Mhm.
is this is good. I know a lot of people don't like seeing 5 on things; they think it's too low. But for our scale,
Yep.
5 is good. That is, I sat down, I watched this, and I enjoyed it. That's what 5 is.
Yeah, yeah.
Anything
Would
above
watch again.
Yeah, anything above that is like there were
Mhm.
extra notes of like, oh, that really worked, that really worked, that really worked. Anything below that is, I wish they would have done this. I like this glared out to me too much to stop me enjoying it, etc., etc.
Oh, it's so tough because this is so hard to go on based on last
Mm-hmm. It's
on
weird because
last
like
season.
I
Compared to all of it
yeah
is a very different score rank compared to last year.
I do wonder if
Last
I would have
season.
changed my scores for anything if I was to go back and do that. But I mean, for instance, I say recently, it was a little while ago now, I rewatched the
Mhm.
60th anniversary specials, and I feel like, in
Mhm.
the case of the Star Beast, I feel like I was too harsh on it. I feel like I'd probably go up a rank. I think I gave it a 7.
Yeah.
I think I would probably go up to an 8 if I was to
But is it because
rescore it.
it was such a shit season?
No, I just feel like I don't know. Like I still have issues with like the Star Beast ending with a bunch of like button pressing and conveniently all of
Mhm.
the roads rebuilding themselves.
Yeah,
um, but
yeah.
but ultimately, I think the vast
Yeah.
majority of the story I think was actually pretty good, and like the one of the
Mhm.
better examples of a rompy adventure story. Um,
Mhm.
so I feel like maybe I was maybe a little harsh because of how the ending went on the Star Beast in particular. Um,
Mhm.
and then the giggle was still kind of hampered by the last 10 minutes, which I still have questions
Mhm.
about. I still have questions
Never
about.
gonna get him.
um, but no, I do wonder if I would
Yeah.
have changed any scores for anything if I went back.
I'll give it a 7, I guess.
Yeah, 7, good
Yeah.
old So I think we're in a very similar spot in that
Yeah.
um I was kind of I've been thinking about it and I was like, maybe a 6.5 to a 7. And I didn't know if I
Mhm.
wanted to go up all the way up to the 7 or not. Because part of my thinking of how likely am I to rewatch a story
Mhm.
comes into how I rank it. And ultimately, I think, as much as I think this is really good and just a fun romp and adventure, when all
Mhm.
is said and done, and I think the comedy of it worked, and the action pieces were good, the sets were good, all that stuff. But I feel like I more or less got everything I'm going to get from it
Mhm.
from watching it these 2 times.
Yep.
So I don't know if I would not in the case of like Space Babies where I'm like, I just do not
Yeah.
want to watch this ever again. Like,
Couldn't pay me to watch Space
yeah.
Babies again.
Whereas if this was on TV, I would be like, oh, okay, I'll just kind of like watch
Yeah.
it or whatever. Like, so,
Yeah.
but in terms of actively going back to rewatch it,
Mhm.
I feel like because of that, I feel like if I gave something a 7, that would be at the point where I'd be like, I would throw it on. Like I would like, "Oh, you know what? I'm just gonna watch this, like whatever." But I feel like
Yeah.
I'm gonna level at a 6.5 because I think it's pretty good at everything it sets out to do. But it's not one I would revisit necessarily. Like I definitely have to watch the Robot Revolution again. I don't think
Oh, man.
it's one of those for me.
Yeah.
Um, so
Fair enough.
yeah, so that's pretty good by our scoreboard. That's better than good.
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Yeah.
so yeah, I think I'm going to settle on a 6.5. But now I am also flashing back to what I gave last season, and like hmm, I'm fairly
It's
sure
tough.
I'm
It's
fairly
tough.
sure I gave Space Babies a 4.
I can't hold that knowledge in my brain.
Yeah, but no, I mean, yeah, I was much happier
Mm.
as with this being a season opener. Like it was
Yeah.
exciting, it was funny. Belinda got introduced in a great way where I instantly understood what she's about, and I'm interested to see where she goes and how she learns and grows going forward
Mhm.
from here. Um,
Mm.
Shooty's performance of the Doctor captured me a lot more, so I don't have too much to complain about. Um,
Mm.
it's just other than just the little things. Like I wish like Alan was a little bit more fleshed out, and but again, that comes from the runtime being 45 minutes, and we've and again, this is a constant issue where I'm like, can we just let things
Yeah.
breathe more, just a little bit? Like I feel like
Nope.
I'm getting just constant whiplash because we've got to keep
Mhm.
things going, we've got to keep the pace going, we've got to make sure people aren't looking at their phones, like we said earlier. Um, etc etc and yeah, I don't know, I want to I want to find a way, it's never going to happen, to
Mhm.
normalize letting scenes breathe more and having a bit more development on characters, especially villains, all that kind of stuff. But no, all in all, pretty good, pretty good. 6.5 sperm eggs.
Also, I feel like one thing we didn't touch on at all, but I
Go on.
noticed is the obviously the stream time is now different.
Yes, yeah. So
Yes.
now we
Yeah.
can talk
Now
about,
you're very happy about it.
yeah, so we can talk about all the other bits and pieces. Now we're going to our scores. So yeah, the stream time in the UK is now 8 a.m.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, to be fair, I was like last year I was being a little jokey boy
Mhm.
about the traditional
We're
time.
not being
The
jokey.
traditional time is tea time Saturday. That's when Doctor Who should be on. I mean, I was doing
Mhm.
the bit. I was doing a bit, okay?
You were not doing the
I
bit.
was
No,
doing
there's
a bit.
no way. You were not doing the bit.
I was doing a bit. I mean,
You were not doing a bit.
it didn't matter because like I had to go to
Mm.
sleep anyway because I had to go to work first thing in the morning. So it doesn't make any
Mhm.
difference to me whatsoever.
Dream time is gonna be Martin's pufferfish moment.
So what's it for you now? What's that?
Uh,
What does that mean it is for you? Because it's all changed
yeah,
relative.
I'm asleep. I'm asleep.
Yeah.
So for me, it is 1 a.m. Saturday morning.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah,
don't.
which makes it complicated for the purposes.
Yes. yes.
Mhm.
Ultimately, it doesn't
Yeah.
really matter that much, as long as people are watching it. That's
Mhm.
really the thing that matters. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, is anything else we want to just
Like,
quickly?
enough other people were upset about it, though. They were like, "No,
Mm,
can't have this."
mm, yeah, like I mean, I don't have too much. Like it's recognizing that the how television is consumed is different now,
Mhm.
and Doctor Who's trying to figure out where it fits within that. Um, like obviously, I'm sure there were probably discussions about, do we just put the whole thing out, or do we do it week to week? Do we like? I'm sure
Mhm.
all those conversations were happening.
Mhm.
Um, like Andor's coming up very soon.
Yeah.
Like I know that they've changed the
Also,
how they're doing their
starring
thing. Um,
starring Verada.
yes, yeah, yeah. Is she in the
Yeah.
second season? I don't know if I've. Did she die in the first season? I can't. I've been meaning to rewatch Andor, but yeah, Verada Sifu she
I
was in that.
don't
I can't remember honestly. I know she got into a scuffle. I seem to remember, but I can't remember if she made it out of said scuffle or not. But in regards to Doctor Who with that, I am slightly concerned about the fact that Doctor Who is being kind of sandwiched in between The Last of Us season 2 and Andor, which are
yeah.
two big kind of
Mhm.
juggernauts. I mean, I know Andor didn't perform as well as it rightfully should have done, um,
Mm.
but you know, it is being sandwiched between two big franchise things, because The Last of Us took
Yeah.
off in a big bad way when it came out, and everyone's excited for the second season. So I do hope that
Mhm.
Doctor Who doesn't get lost in the sauce. But yeah,
Mhm.
but speaking about streaming and how episodes are put out, I know that Andor is putting out 3 episodes a week now for this next season. Presumably because they're doing the same structure they did last season, where 3 episodes are an arc. Um, which I think is smart for them, honestly, because I know a lot of people who were turned off from the first season because they felt the pacing wasn't working for them, because they they were like, I just wanted to see what happens. Like I have to wait another week to see
Mhm.
where this goes next, and then they dropped off because of that. So I think it's very smart of them to release each arc every week. Um, in regards to Doctor Who, because Doctor Who is very episodic, it is a monster villain something of the week,
Yep.
we're in its bare bones form.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and obviously the BBC still have to transmit it, and they're going to transmit it every
Mhm.
week. They're not just going
Mhm.
to lump it all out in one go. Um, I don't know. It's interesting to see. Again, it's a question for when this season ends, and
Mhm.
what they decide to do do with the show
Yeah.
afterwards. Yeah, I like having shows happen week to week. I like not just because I have a podcast, because it would be fucking hellish to try and if they dropped all
Right,
the
pace yourself.
episodes in one go
Yeah.
and trying to do a podcast reviewing each episode. That would be a nightmare. But just generally, I like having the
Yeah.
thing exist for a period of
Yep.
time and not just disappearing
Yeah.
after a week or whatever. Next week we've got Alan Cumming returning as a cartoon villain. He previously was in
Mhm.
Doctor Who in The Witch Hunters. Um,
Mhm.
now coming back as a voice, and obviously we've seen in the trailers that Belinda and the Doctor are also going to turn into cartoons
Yep.
at some point during that episode. Whether that's going to be the bulk of the episode or not, um,
Mhm.
I do I do wonder. Like, we live in a world where Supernatural did a Scooby Doo episode where they turned into Scooby
Mhm.
Doo animation characters. So
Yep.
it does feel a little bit like, I think like I feel like they think they're doing something new and original, but it's kind of it's kind of already been done elsewhere.
Mhm.
So I am curious to see how they're going to take what makes Doctor Who unique and its own thing, and then mix that
Mhm.
in with animation, and what
Yep.
they can do to play with that. But having Alan Cumming as your villain is exciting, because fucking
Yep.
Alan Cumming brings it no matter what he's in. Um,
Yeah.
interesting enough, Alan Cumming, Alan Cumming, when very young Alan Cumming was in what back in the 90s in the wilderness years when Doctor Who was off the air, and you had just fans
Mhm.
keeping it alive in various different forms. Um, there was
Mhm.
essentially a fan film, but it had like an actual production company doing it.
Mhm.
Alan Cumming appears in one of those fan films, as a villain,
Mhm.
and he's clearly the only person trying. no one else is really putting in the amount of effort that he is. And I'm sure he wants that wiped from the history. He doesn't want anyone to know that he's in that, but he's in it. He's in one of
Yeah.
those. You can find it. It's out there. But yeah, I'm interested for next week, and I will be cautiously enthusiastic about the rest of the season. We've got a bunch of new writers, which is good to see. I just hope the energy of this episode continues and gets better from here. I will be optimistic. I
Mhm.
will not be a cynical asshole after how destroyed we were at the end of last season.
Yep.
It was rough. It was rough, but
Yep. Yep.
you know, I am determined to not be a quote unquote hater for the sake of being a hater.
Mhm.
Um
Hater. Yep.
and strive to look for what is working in the show rather than what is not. Not to say I'm not going to be critical. Obviously, I will be. You've demonstrated that. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's it. Robot Revolution. Pretty good. Pretty good. Fun intro to a new season, and that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at with it. Okay, can you sense? I feel like there is a tension of, oh, just don't mess it up. There's a sense, please don't, like you say, it feels like there are not just fictional stakes going on, but there are like
Yeah.
actual, what is the
Yeah.
fate of this show once this season
Yeah.
ends? Please, if it
Mhm.
is going on hiatus, please end on a good note, so we're not just
Yep.
left with a damp, wet fart again in our mouths.
Damn.
Um, and
Oh my
then
god. Yeah.
we just have the spin-off to try and carry the load of what's left.
Yeah.
um, so yeah,
Yeah.
no, optimism, Tash. We're going to be
Yep.
optimistic and
Mhm.
hope the show just gets better from this point. I'm sure there's going to be an episode that doesn't gel with us. International Song Galactic Conquest, whatever what the fuck it
Mhm.
is, fucking Eurovision in space. That's
Uh-huh.
that's probably
Yep.
the one.
Show me what you got.
Yeah, basically.
The only attitude towards that one.
Yeah. Okay, that's it. That's it from us, folks, for this week. There, she's doing the wave.
T. Davis, if you show one more fucking cat, though, I'm gonna start a Cat Lovers Against Russell T. Davies movement, okay? As a queer person, leave our cats alone. Can't do it enough. Enough.
Oh god. And on that note, goodbye, everyone. Joke's on you. You thought we were finished. We're not. We're inserting this a little bit because I forgot something we needed to mention at the end.
Mhm, 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 mhm.
We now have a Blue Sky, everyone. The podcast is on Blue Sky, and that is probably going to be our main point of, if people want to give us comments and queries and their thoughts on episodes, I will put a post up before the episode airs for you to reply
Mhm.
to. You can find it at Adventures in Who. That is the handle. If you're watching YouTube, I will have it linked in the description below. So go there, check that thing out. And we also had friend of the show, Randomer's opinions on this episode, who did get in touch and
Oh, yes.
said,
Yes, 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 yes.
I am. I completely forgot. It's all completely on me. Everyone can blame me. I forgot. um, and who said, I'm intrigued by Mrs. Flood, the polish robot, and the acknowledgement of Monday Flynn, and it wasn't
Mhm.
Space Babies. So
Yep.
much the
Similar
same.
to us.
Yes,
It
same as
was a
us.
space base. Yep. Yeah.
So thank you, Randomer, for giving us a comment on what you think about this. But yes, like I
Mhm.
say, Blue Sky linked. If you're listening on Spotify, like I say, Adventures in Who is the handle for the Blue Sky. So please do go follow there and let us know what you think about the episodes, and we will incorporate those into our reviews and
Yep.
future podcast stuff. But yeah, now we're going. Now we're actually going. Goodbye.
Yeah.